piano time.
Welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast, guys. We are back from PGA Show week, and we are exhausted but happy to bring back our recap of everything we've learned, experienced, and hopefully some things that we'll bring back to you guys that you may not know or that you'll like to know about the PGA Show. So Dante and Isaiah, how are you guys doing this week?
Doing good, man. Trying to stay warm. Wish I could have made it down to the show with you guys. It's a shame I had some family stuff come up, but you guys had a great time. Tell me what happened. I missed out. I know.
I'm tired.
I know yesterday was a full day of travel. We're recording this on Monday evening, the 27th, and Dante and I spent all day Sunday as soon as we got back to our respective living quarters in bed doing nothing. It was just nuts. And nuts in a good way. It was so much fun to interact with everyone that we did over the 2 days. I hope over the next couple of weeks, everyone realizes how much content we were able to produce. And we had a ton of fun doing it. We met a lot of people in the industry, whether it's from the podcasting side of things or guys making clubs, fashion guys, girls, head pros, what you have it. We met so many people we're just so generous to be a part of that week. And it was nuts and gangbusters from the minute we stepped feet in Orlando.
Yeah.
Who was the best person that you met? Dante, tell us.
On the spot. Dang.
On the spot. Got you right there. I'm excited.
Who was
I didn't
the
get
best?
to go. Who did you enjoy talking to the most?
I know, and we were so busy, we really didn't get to contact with Isaiah. So, he's kind of in the dark as to what we did down there.
I got not a clue. So you got to tell me.
Okay. So, as a fan, it was awesome to meet the golf WRX guys, Brian Knudsen and Rob Miller. Those guys were awesome. They were just very open, and they even gave us a bunch of tips. As an interview standpoint, Chris Beck. We interviewed Chris Beck.
Chip Beck.
My bad. That guy was electric. He was so.
Yeah, I tell you what,
fun to talk to.
When you interview like a guy who hit his peak in the 90s, you never know what to expect. This whole thing with like old man golf versus new golf, you never know. Are they going to be like the old style, like drab, this is golf's changed so much and whatever. He was electric.
That's crazy. For the people that don't know, who is Chip Beck? What did he do?
So Chip Beck, probably best known for being one of the third guy ever in tour history to shoot a 59. He shot that out at, I believe at the time, Las Vegas Country Club.
Yeah.
But also very, very notable for playing a huge part in the War on the Shore, the Ryder Cup down at Kiowa, I believe it was, in 1991. We talked to him a little bit about kind of that Ryder Cup team and just the legends that were on that team, from Hale Irwin to Payne Stewart. I mean, the list goes on. And, Faldo on the European side, and just kind of the animosity between the two. And he loved getting into that. He's like, man, he's like, it's always chippy between the United States and the Ryder Cup. And it always has been. But a cool thing that I thought he talked about, Dante, and maybe you can speak on this as well. The Ryder Cup in the 90s wasn't really the event that it is today, as far as like notoriety and like coverage and fan coverage. So like, I feel like in the early 90s, he was saying like people were still fighting to make sure the Ryder Cup was going to be a thing in the next couple of years. So when the War on the Shore happened and it, really took off, that it was this nail biting affair between the two countries, that was what kind of propelled it into what it is today.
Yeah. He was even saying about how this one country hated this one country, and then this country hated another one, and then that country hated the other, but then they had to be all together on one team, yet they all had one thing in common, they hated America. So it just started, they're like, yes, let's butt heads. So that's why you get that. Now you see the Ryder Cup now, how you can see just this, the pride of their the nationalities come out of the United States versus Europe. They're just like everybody, like, you're like, screw Europe, and that's why everybody hates Ian Poulter, because he comes out and really puts on a show, and they're just like, this guy sucks, screw him, you stink, and it's just USA, USA. But it's cool to get that it's like a camaraderie, but they're also, you know what, I'm finally playing. I'm putting the flag on my chest, and I'm playing for my country, and we're going to go out and take it for them. So it was kind of cool to see how at first it was like Dalton was saying, whatever, it is what it is. And then as things progress, now it's like they can't wait. And that's when you watch it, you can kind of understand how they just get so fired up for making a 5-footer to go up one or whatever. Yeah, that was really exactly. The patriotism definitely comes out of both ends of the spectrum when it comes to that. It's really neat to see, and just talking to him, because we talked. I was behind the camera most of the time because someone had to do it, which was fine. And Dalton was like, "Yeah, we got to get you in front." I was like, yeah, you're rolling with it. Just go with it. Just go with it. It's like, okay. So just listening to them, we had about 5 minutes set up, and the guy who was kind of managing them, we were supposed to talk about, well, we did. So he was representing the one company called Pitch Fix, which they got a lot of neat tools to offer. The one was kind of a simple mirror aim point tool to use, where it doesn't really revolve around a lot of technology. So we were trying to talk about and they had all these other gadgets to use. And these guys were from Amsterdam. Now they're in Charlotte. But we were talking about Ryder Cup the entire time and just about Chip. And then he had to go do an interview in about 5 minutes, and his manager's like, "Let's wrap it up." I'm sitting there, 1 minute, and then he's like, "Tell me about pitch."
Yeah. So like, it was crazy because we got there on time, and it was actually really funny, just to give people a feel for how big this place was, right? Like we had been walking probably for a good bit of the morning, just kind of shooting around, saying hello to some of the people that we were going to have interviews with later in the day, just to kind of make sure everything was still set up and ready to go for the afternoon. And then we kind of had like a weird hour in between where we could just kind of go and do our own thing before we had to meet up with Chip Beck. And so we walked all the way down to pretty much the end. So like Adidas was really the end cap to like the one side of the
that was like all the retail area, all the clothing.
So we had gotten down pretty much there, and now that was in like the 1000s. Now, to give you a clue of how many people were there, each booth had a number, right? That was in the 1000s. We had to run in about a 10-minute time span to the 5500s to get down to where Chip Beck and Pitch Fix were. So that's how freaking many exhibits were at this place, and we
that was in the middle of the middle to the more pushing towards the end. There was still more on the other side after that booth where Chip was.
So we had to run. We literally ran, and we got there on time. So, but it was really cool because like we got there on time. Chip was talking to a couple other people, before us, and I feel like in true Chip Beck fashion was running late on his first time, just because of how genuine of a person he is. We could tell that he really just loved conversation, and getting to know who he was talking to. Like, right. Like he didn't want to just have a conversation with somebody and move on to the next one. He was like legitimately interested in us as who we were, what we were doing, why we were doing the podcast, what the podcast was about, what we wanted to know about him. He was really interested in getting to know people in depth before he jumped on, an interview with them. So that was really cool. And like Dante said, we ended up, getting to know him a little bit, and then kind of getting put to the wire right at the end when he was due for radio at 3:00. We started our interview at about 2:56. So we got some good content with him, and did probably make him a minute or two late for his next radio interview, but it was that was definitely electric, and one that had Dante and I both laughing pretty much the whole time we were with him.
He's like, yeah, we'll like, once I get done this interview, we'll go back, we'll do a podcast. And we're like, Yeah, like absolutely. However, we got others scheduled.
Yeah. So like last minute, I'm like like ninja starring a business card at him just to say, yeah, we'll get you back on. So it was pretty cool and funny. And Dante, he seemed to have really taken a fancy to your forearms.
Oh my God. Hey, we were shaking our hand and then shake my hand and he would just like slap my forearm. And I'm like, what is going on? I was like,
he was a great guy.
He was awesome. Definitely someone you can just sit back and just listen to his stories and just try and have a conversation with them because he's very energetic.
And you can tell he had a million stories to tell too. Like if you had the whole day just to sit down in a chair and like a bottle of whiskey with Chip Beck, you wouldn't need to do much else, you know?
What you guys did do other things. Where else did you go? What did you do?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. How about this? I'll run down real briefly of our day by day kind of thing, just like the time thing. So we left our houses, Dalton and Baltimore. I'm in Philly, left for the airport 3 a.m. for 6 a.m. flights. We got there, got the car, head on over to the show. Once we got our passes and actually on to the convention floor, it was about 10:30, right? We did our runs. We did our interviews. By that time, we ate absolute dog crap of food. I mean, we were rushing, shoving stuff in our face. We ate podcast, got back to the hotel, went to what else? We went to Topgolf.
Well, we did 2 podcasts.
Yeah. Went to Topgolf. We're up till 2 a.m. Went to bed. Next day comes. We're doing again. Became fans. It was just we probably slept for about 15 hours in 3 days. No.
I would give a pro tip to anyone going to the show next year. Like buy Cliff Bars or buy granola bars or something. Buy some healthy stuff. Buy some fruit, maybe. Buy something healthy to take with you. You know, take a backpack. We ate absolute dog crap. Convention center. You know,
we didn't really
vendor food.
Much
we only
at all.
ate once a day, ish.
Sure. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you this: if you're going and you're producing content, and you know you're meeting people, trying to get interviews, you're going to be on your feet all day, which is great. That's awesome. You're going to meet a lot of people, but you're going to be on the run. So definitely make sure you have some type of source of food.
Well, it's like, and it's funny too, because like
going.
Speaking of running into other people, like we talked a little bit earlier, we ran into Bradley Putters, guy that runs Bradley Putters, and he had a couple good pro tips for us too. You know, and he kind of as many awesome freaking putters as he does, you would think he had a booth set up. He doesn't. He just walks around with a couple putters in his hand because people know who he is by now. But one thing that he always said was like, man, just especially for media like us and to anyone who wants to do that in the future, and we found this to be very true as well, set up something, some kind of meetings, reach out before you get down there. Because we weren't even there Wednesday, which is like the busiest day out of them all. And Thursday was a nut house. So I can't even imagine, because people were saying how much slower Thursday was from Wednesday, that like I can't imagine trying to just walk up to people and try and talk to them on Wednesday, let alone Thursday.
I thought it was busy Thursday.
It was insanely busy Thursday. And that's the thing. It's like, you know, people were very gracious with their time that we had set up with, but a couple other folks that, you know, we had kind of ran into and said, hey, would you mind? You know, they did, but you could tell it was on the fly and they had a million other things going on. So like we were kind of lucky to get a couple of the other gets that we did just by good timing. But I can see how if you're not having that kind of luck, that it could turn into 0 interviews in a heartbeat.
So that's great. You guys got down there, you're wiped. You saw so many different products, met so many different people. What was the most innovative product you guys think that you saw?
I tell you what, I'm not going to go into it too much in depth, but I'll be honest. I think it's going to come on our Thursday episode. I think the Thursday episode that we have is going to really change the way people start reading greens. And I think it's got a good opportunity to maybe even help with pace of play, whether it's on tour or, you know, these freaking green reading books, man, they're so complicated. And it's all about reading slope. And I think the technology that we're going to feature on Thursday has got a really good way to innovate the game and the way we look at green reading.
For sure. And one thing that I thought was actually really cool. Well, one, all the innovative and stuff using technology was sweet, was probably the coolest stuff to see. But one thing that caught me off guard that you wouldn't even think was one giant booth selling range equipment. Like,
yeah,
you saw,
really,
you saw like the pyramids for the range balls. You saw the pickers. You saw every little stuff that you see on the range that equipment wise that's needed to be used. They were there promoting those products, and I'm sitting there, how much can this stuff change? We didn't really dive much into it, but that was kind of something that was really cool to see. And then even on the other side of that booth, there were people selling kind of, this stuff to hold, like the sandboxes, the club cleaners, like on the ranges. There's really nice ones, flag sticks, flags, like all that type of stuff
like
for the golf
30
course.
different flag designs. So like that was a funny moment for me where I was like, man, Bryson DeChambeau might not be full of shit. There might be different things out there. Like you might have to test the coefficient of restitution on that.
There was
guy.
different sizes, different diameters in the flag stick alone. And these were pretty solid big booths promoting this stuff. Granted, the one had to be because these machines were absolutely massive.
Well, and I think that's the coolest thing about it, that like the outsider might forget when they're looking at the PGA show, is like these PGA shows are meant for head club professionals to take back to their courses and make better. Whether it's, I mean, if we're going to go on a second favorite for me, innovative wise, it's not one particular, but the range of like new golf scooters and golf motorcycles, like two-wheel cycles that have your clubs coming out the front. Like it's cool to see people rethinking the way we approach a golf course. Obviously love to walk. Can't get enough of walking a golf course. But like if I have an alternative that, like, if they're going to make me ride that I don't have to sit like a traditional sit back like I do, but like ride a freaking motorcycle. Yeah, I'll probably take that option. I'd probably even pay like $15 more around, $20 more around to ride a motorcycle. That'd be pretty cool.
Just for the experience.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that too that I thought, like, club innovation wise, we see it on social media already. Like I knew what the Maverick was. I knew all of Titleist's new stuff coming out. Can we talk for a second on Titleist's choice of sport coat color for the event? Dante, did you take notice to that?
Wasn't it like an off-white tuxedo looking?
It was like an off-white cream tuxedo. It was like someone. Oh, it was just ugly.
I don't even think we even walked into their booth.
It didn't. I was so disgusted. I kept walking.
Yeah.
It was fashion, bro.
It looked like they were going to prom.
Yeah. And it was really bad too. They weren't tailored correctly. It was all like oversized. It was legitimately like a junior was going to senior prom and he was using his dad's sport coat because he didn't want to buy one for himself. Like that's how badly they were tailored.
And that's from Titleist too.
And that's from Titleist. No, and I'll be honest, Dante and I didn't spend too much time in any of the club manufacturers.
Well, and that's one of the things that even like some people were saying that they might have been, complaining about when you're going down. And one thing to say is, like you're saying, Dalton, is it's for the industry. And that's what I think people forget. It's for the industry. It's for those in the industry. So you see a lot of things that may be really overpriced, but at the same time, it's for your club. It's how can I better my teaching studio? How can I elevate the game in that aspect to bring it to my clients? Because at the end of the day, we're all customers going to either clubs or we're either going to studios to get lessons to work on our game. So how is that company going to better themselves to provide a better product to that customer? So it was really neat to see those innovative and different technologies and there wasn't much clubs. And I think a lot of people get a little discouraged and a little upset about that is you don't see these club manufacturers there because they don't show up. Like TaylorMade, they didn't show up the past 2 years because they released that stuff already. And then you have all these social media markets that, you know, they say, okay, yeah, you guys can promote this stuff and release it. So you see it and see the reviews already beforehand.
Well,
And
then
that's
not
just the
only do
way
you have that,
technology is going.
oh, exactly. And not only do you have that, then they're like their sub market does the work for them too.
Exactly.
All the places they retail their clubs at, whether it's Pro Shops, Dick's Sporting Goods, Golf Galaxy, PGA Superstore, they all run commercials for the new stuff to come out too. So it's like at a point in time, like how much work do these club manufacturers really have to do when they release their products? Because everyone, whether it's someone who reviews it or other big chain stores, do their work for them. So it's like as long as they get a good looking product out the door, it sells without them really touching it.
And one of the booths, yeah, exactly. And then going back to one of the booths that I really liked seeing was the one where they were using different materials that weren't plastic, but they made plasties that didn't bend.
Oh man, I'm gonna go nuts on what the name of that product was.
Evolve
Golf. Yes.
Evolve Golf. And they were also making tees that were biodegradable.
Yeah.
And then that produced like fertilizer
He
seed.
literally said there was like seed in the tee. So that like now this is a greenskeeper's worst nightmare though. I'll be honest with you, because if all these tees are falling right around the club, you know, like the tee box and whatever, in like 2 to 3 years, if they don't clean them up, get stomped in the ground, they're going to have roots right at their tee box. So I honestly didn't think of that till right now, but that might not be the greatest thing, but great idea. Wonderful idea.
I guess on an environmental standpoint, for sure. But going back to keeping maintenance, that's probably going to actually drive costs again. Because now you're
nightmares.
Oh yeah, your guy's going to be pretty pissed. Yeah. But I think that's pretty much what I think this show's about is that kind of stuff. It's for those in the industry looking for how can we better our product, but also the camaraderie and that you're bringing the golf community all to one location for you to meet people, to mingle, to network. You know, we met so many people like Olsen Putters. We were out with them Thursday night.
Prime example.
Knew of them. We were at Top Golf. We were with the follower, which was awesome. And you know, he brought along. He goes, "You guys know Olsen Putters." He was telling the Dalton, "I must have missed this." So he comes and he's handing us stickers, right? And I'm like looking at him, like, Olsen Putters. I follow that. I was like, wait a second, you're Olsen Putters? He's like, yeah. Nicest kid ever.
22-year-old kid. So shout out to him. If anyone doesn't follow him, go give a follow to Olsen Putters. He is 22 years old, does all the work by himself. Custom handmade putters, whatever you can think of, does custom necks, flow necks, long necks. I mean, whatever you want in a putter, the dude will make it for you, and he's going to make it look exquisitely good. He's just damn good at what he does. There's nothing really else I can say about that. And
I mean, he definitely wears his work on his sleeve. Is that the saying or whatever? Yep. Yeah, he for sure. I mean, this guy, he's putting countless hours by himself into his craft.
What I loved about it the most was anytime we, like you or I, when we went back and kind of hung out and like got to look at all of his putters, when you and I asked him a question about something or why he designed it that way, there was a perfect reason why he designed it that way and how it should work. And he would show you why it worked. Or he would pick up one putter, say, okay, this is why this is this way, and then show you another putter of what does the exact opposite of the putter that he designed for this reason. So like his knowledge of why the putters work the way they work and how his designs come together to make certain swing arcs and, you know, face balance versus not, you know, toe hang putters. It was just insane the amount of knowledge he had to go into all his different putters.
That's crazy. So you guys,
that's why we're up till 2 a.m.
Yeah. Looking at fancy putters for sure.
I mean,
so you guys,
so shout out to Jordan Bloxham. That's who it was. Shout out to you, bud. He picked up one of our towels while we were down there as well. So shout out to some people picking up some merch down there at the show. We really appreciate the support.
What was that, Isaiah?
No, I was saying, so you guys, you saw the show, you saw some crazy putters, met some awesome people. You're in Florida. It's like the golf mecca of the United States. Did you play?
Oh yeah. So Friday we did we play? If you go to if you go
You
to
think
Florida,
I'm going to Florida and not taking the sticks? You're insane.
Yeah. So Friday the show pretty much opens Wednesday. The floor opens Wednesday and Thursday from 8 to 6. And then Friday it closes at 3. So we were lucky enough to get in the Machinella Skins game, which we did do a podcast, which is actually available. You guys can go listen to that. We won't really go much into detail, but it was it was a great time. So after that, we did our last interview. And then immediately from there, we ran to the car to get in the car to go down to Winter Park and play in the Winter Park Skins game, which definitely a bucket list to any listeners out there. If you can get down to Orlando, play in the Friday afternoon Matt Janella Skins game at Winter Park, you won't regret it. And you can win some cash if you drop some birdies.
Yeah, check out our podcast on that, because we talk about all the cash that's rolling through there. Now, granted, it was a major crowd with the PGA Show being in town, so probably a little more prize money than usual, but still, just great people. We did play with some locals, and you can like we said, check out our episode 8 podcast where we dove into everything about the Skins game and what made it so special and why we can't recommend it enough to everyone there. But it was just something that was so much fun, and we really hope to be able to do it again.
Oh yeah. And then Saturday we're like, all right, this is the day for ourselves. We went out and we played 36 holes. The first round was a course called Dub's Dread. That was probably one of my favorite courses I've played. It was only 6,100 from the tips, but it was a pretty tough course because you really had to strategize on what shot you wanted to play. Because
there was water that snuck up on you everywhere off the tee on that course. I mean, everywhere. Like, I feel like just in perfect Florida fashion, everywhere that you were, like, at least for us, going to land a driver, there was water that was just bottlenecking in on you and making your landing area like half the size of what the rest of the course was, you know?
The one par 5, we're sitting there. It was probably the hole I disliked the most. And it was
rock bottom of the round for me. I could tell you that.
Yeah. So it was probably about 500 maybe or something. But what happens, you teed off over water, and then you had this landing area, and then it kind of slanted and did like a little sliver snake thing, and there was water again there, and then it opened up again to a weird tear green that was like almost peanut shaped but very skinny but horizontal. So if you wanted to play it safe, you would have to hit the ball about 195 to land in the fairway, or you had the skinny strip, or if you really wanted the bomb driver, you had to carry it over 3 bills to get it on the other side, just to basically even have the next widest fairway to land on. So you're sitting there like, okay, do I want to play this hole backwards and go, iron 3-wood into the green, or do I want to try and hammer the driver to see if I can get it that distance? Well, and behold, we all pulled driver right in the water, the second part of the so we all
smoked it
there.
too. That's what made me so mad. I don't know if it was just that heavy Florida air, but ball no go far in Florida, and it was apparent on that hole. And yeah, we all dropped one in the water on that hole.
Well, it was weird too, because we were coming from the north. We're like, all right, we're going to Florida, warm weather. Well, it's the end of January. It's winter wherever. And it was a nice, cool 60-degree day with some wind, but you can still feel a little bit of that winter air. And it, like you were saying, it almost seemed like the ball wasn't going. It would go up and then just kind of sit there and then come back down.
Yeah.
But I mean, granted, we were in Florida in winter wearing no more than a pullover.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, the afternoon on Friday, I was wearing shorts and actually kind of getting a little sweat a little bit. So it got a little warm, but it wasn't anything to like, be in a tank top and swim trunks and expect to go swimming or something like that.
Even though some of the water parks we drove by, there were people there.
Volcano Mountain. Shout out to Volcano Mountain.
Yeah,
their lines were packed when we drove by. Yeah, no, we had a rough starts in the morning on that front nine at Dubs Dread. But I think once I started pulling out 2-iron off the tee and you started playing a little more conservative off the tee too, the game kind of came back to us a little bit. We started to figure out how to play that course.
I snuck in a few birdies, had a nice couple approach shots in there. Also,
Hunter was hot.
It was getting that hot. Thanks to S. Putters for putting that brass copper piece in there. That thing is money. I did sink a nice 25-footer, pretty little slider almost. Dropped in there. Whew.
Right. It was like my first birdie look of the day, too. And he's sitting like 10 feet outside of me and just drops it. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, that was the whole we actually decided to start playing more conservative golf, and we both pull irons off the tee.
Yeah, the minute I started pulling iron at that tee, it was a whole nother ball game. But I think I think the listeners would love to hear this too. The reason we chose Dubs Dread was because it was one of the few courses in Orlando you could actually walk. A lot of those resort courses, they won't even let you walk. So Dante had found this place and it was high on our list right off the bat for the simple fact that you could walk it. And it was really an easy walk. We actually, we had another follower join us, during the morning round. And, he originally was in a cart, and Dante and I stroll up with our bag strapped on our shoulders. And we're like, hey, we're going to walk, and he's like, oh, hell yeah. And ditched the cart and walked right with us. And also kind of commented on how easy of a walk it was. So, highly recommendable for anyone.
And since down there, apparently it's considered peak season, and we paid maybe
$20 less than a normal, right?
Yeah, it was like $50, maybe even $60, I think.
I think it was originally supposed to be $65, but then once we told them we were walking, they knocked it down to $45.
Yeah, it was something like that. And it was awesome because, at peak season, some of those courses I was looking at were up to 150, 175 to play. So and that's what I like about some of those the two Florida, like so far the first course, Winter Park, and then Dubs Dread, they were tucked in these neighborhoods that you would have never known. It wasn't on this open resort land or whatever. They were just these hidden gems. And they were both conditions on both courses. Greens were great. Tee to green were phenomenal. Yeah, it couldn't get any better.
No.
And then afternoon round, we head over to Disney and went and played nice resort Disney Palm course. That was nice. Always those are in great condition too. It just was more packed. They actually, I think it was all teaching professionals. They had a tournament on the other course. We played Disney Palms. I think they had it on the Magnolia course. So you saw those guys coming off playing because, you see all the bags. You got names on them. You're looking at the clubs. You got blades, cavity back irons. You're like, oh, boy. But, yeah, that was really, really cool.
We rolled in and we're like, we're at the wrong place. There's a lot of professional golfers here. And turns out they were all like club pros, head pros, what it may be. But no, Disney was really cool. And we kind of found it just by happenstance. We walked in and had to use the men's facilities before the round. And when you walk into the men's facilities, right around the corner is kind of their locker room area. Now I don't know exactly the year it started, but I know it was back in like the 80s. They started having the Disney Classic there. It was kind of the kickoff to the season for a lot of the PGA Tour events, I think straight through the early 2000s. But each locker had the name of the winner of that year on it. So they went right from the year it started all up into the current year. And Jack Nicklaus's name was on there a couple times. Arnold Palmer was on there. And a real special one for me just because of how much my dad loved Payne Stewart. They actually had Payne Stewart's locker on there, but it was all sealed up. It had Payne Stewart's, couple shirts, his trophy, a picture of him hoisting the trophy, and a nice little like shrine. Yeah, his shoes, which was really neat. So, they just did a phenomenal job of honoring him in his winning year locker.
And the Titleist Pro Model golf balls at that time were up there too. I don't know if you noticed that. It's on the top
I
shelf.
didn't notice that.
Yeah,
how did I miss that? Oh, man.
I looked at that was the first thing I noticed.
That's one of the coolest things. And I maybe we'll get into a podcast with that sometime, but just ball technology, because it's so cool what those guys used to work with. And you could actually work the old ball more than you can some of these newer balls. So we'll get into that sometime. So actually perfect opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find us, because I think that'd be really cool to maybe, hear from the listeners of what they'd like, what ball they'd like to hear us cover, or maybe, what ball they'd like to see us get in on the podcast that we do a ball technology on. So, I mean, if they want to contact us at _enjoy the walk, we're on Instagram and Twitter under that handle, and enjoythewalk19@gmail.com. Feel free to send us an email there as well. Super easy to get in contact with us and get featured on the show. So drop us your name and your question or your ball manufacturer type that you'd like to hear us cover, and we'll put you on that ball technology show. So no, that was cool. And then we worked around your way around, and then obviously Tiger Woods popped his name up a couple times, and Duffy Waldorf had his name on there. Just some classic names, and David Duval, former number one. Luke Donald was up there. Just a lot of really high quality names in a locker room that was right there and right across from the clubhouse. So it was pretty neat to see that kind of history on a course like that. And as a golf nerd that I am, it's always neat to see those kind of things when you walk into a facility like that, especially when you're unexpecting it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was Dalton's reaction when he saw that. Well, first we saw Payne Stewart, and then we just saw all the names, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "Yo," and we're like walking around looking at all the names. So that was definitely a neat thing to say.
Yeah, and now like getting into the course a little bit, I think by that time when we got to Disney Palms, we had such a day Thursday getting up so early. Barely slept Thursday night into Friday. Did a lot of content again Friday. Played Friday evening. Got up super early Saturday morning to play in the morning. Walked 18. So like, as our good buddies from the north would say, our hoofs were barking at that point. And it just we were toast. So we did ride that last round, and boy, I tell you what, probably the nicest thing about Disney Palms Resort, the cart seats.
They
Plush.
They were like they felt like the classic car seats. Like if you go to a classic car show and you sit in those seats, they got like the ridges in the middle of the butt area and the middle of the back, and then the seat kind of rises up around like the side of your thighs. That's what you were sitting in, because we sat down and we sunk into the.
I felt like I was in a lazy boy recliner.
And we were sitting there just bouncing. Ooh, this is nice. They give you like a towel and everything, country club resort-esque. Those carts were fast.
Oh, we were ripping. Now I wish our round went as fast as that cart did, but unfortunately we waited around a lot, and that's resort golf and kind of to be expected. But it was pretty cool how we wrapped up the day. The last two holes were almost pitch black. We were bumping the other nice thing is we were bumping the stereo all day long, kind of just hanging out. We played with the guys from Boston Scott, so shout out to them. Really enjoyed the time playing around with them. Kind of when we were both all exhausted from the week, we had both done a lot to boost our own brands and do content. So hanging out with the Boston Scott guys, just riding around, chilling, having a couple drinks, listening to music was a really good way to kind of end it all out and just relax. We really didn't do a whole lot of content from the course on Saturday just because we were so beat. But when we wrapped up the round, it was just about pitch black. So we all decided just to say, you know what, screw it. We're all going to tee off at the same time on 18. And we finished out, all four of us did, in the absolute dark. We couldn't.
Our second shots, we get up to it. We all hit pretty decent shots. 3 were in the fairway. I was just off to the rough a little bit, but somehow found it. We all hit our shots. We hit them, and everybody's like, no idea where it went. We'll figure it out. Again, somehow we found them.
3 out of 4 in the fairway.
Yeah. And then we chipped onto the green, and we actually all finished the hole with their own ball, which was
miraculous.
Ball, it was pretty neat to see, because after I hit my second shot, I thought I lost it. It was such a bad. It was so clunky, and I was like, no idea. Found it.
It was pretty cool too, because like it was a par 5, so it was long. So I think the approach shot was over 200 yards.
Yeah,
and there was a little like bridge we had to go across, so there was like water short. So it was like definitely not a good hole to just have no clue where your second shot's going. It was kind of just hit and hope. And I think we all played our best hole of the day in the absolute pitch black.
I think so too. Definitely if we go back down there again next year, we're going down, we're playing rounds before, because by the time at the end of all the content and the lack of sleep, when we played, did that club feel like 1,000 pounds in my hands? I was so tired. I
mean, I don't know
that's
about
my
you.
excuse. My poor play. Yeah, I had a couple bad holes, but I was exhausted.
I don't know about you, but I just think I just need a couple more Catman Cokes throughout the round, and I'll be all right, man. I started sipping on those on the back nine. That was my best nine of the whole trip. Was the last nine. I don't get it, but Captain always helps smooth things out.
That and Red Bulls were tossed around pretty frequently.
Oh, those are just the magic elixir, you know.
Well, game was founded on alcohol, boys. So
they say. Well, yeah, I mean, that just about wraps up our kind of quick synopsis of our time down at the PGA show. We were lucky enough to kind of meet up with Sherry Major, who ran the entire event there at the convention center for the PGA. And I just want to thank her again for all the hospitality and how easy she made it for us being our first show down there. Being credentialed media to, reserve rooms for us to do our long form podcast, which we'll release one here at, coming up next, and one on Thursday. So, I mean, it was a blessing to be able to be down there and get all the content that we did and, get in there and make the relationships we did too. I think we made a lot of relationships in the industry that are not only going to last, throughout the Enjoy the Walk, but I would like to think, for a lifetime, whether we're doing this or doing something else in our lives. So there's a lot of good people in the golf industry, and I think I'm really excited to see where some of the smaller guys in the industry are looking forward to in 2020.
For sure. And don't worry, Sherry, your Buffalo Bills will make it there.
Oh,
she's a big Bills fan.
Big Bills fan. So shout out to Sherry and her Buffalo Bills. I don't know if I can totally get behind them, but if they make it to the playoffs, we'll send her some Bills merchandise.
There you go. Sounds
guys,
good,
man. That's that'll about do us. And up next, we have an interview with Anthony Malky. So that name probably doesn't ring a bell, but I guarantee you the next one will. He owns GOLFDRAWN. He does all of the artwork that's behind GOLFDRAWN. Now, for those of you that might follow him on Instagram, he does golf-centric custom designs and illustrations. So he draws any of your golf courses layouts, country club layouts, the top 100 courses in the country. He'll do those layouts as well. But pretty neat fact about him before we jump into his interview for you guys, he was put on a list at the end of the show from Golf Digest, golf.com, whatever it may be. All the ranking heads got together and said, what were the 10 coolest things at the show this year in 2020? Well, he made the list. Now, it wasn't a 1 to 10, so it was kind of just top 10 in no particular order. But I can guarantee you guys go check him out. And at the end of his segment, you'll find out where to find him, how to contact him if you want your course drawn up by Anthony. So without further ado, we'll get into Anthony's interview here. And as always, guys, enjoy the walk, and I hope you enjoy his interview.
Enjoy the walk.
Enjoy the walk, guys.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Enjoy the Walk podcast. Pretty special interview today. We're down at the PGA Show here in 2020, and we have the man behind GOLFDRAWN. If you've seen his images on Instagram or at the PGA Show here and co-exhibiting here in the last couple years, this is the man behind the madness of GOLFDRAWN. Anthony, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
So, I guess first and foremost, is it a one-man show? Are you the only guy doing all these drawings?
So I'm the only one that does the drawings. At this point, we've been fortunate enough to grow in the last year, really, to add a team of about 5 that, handle receiving orders, updating the site, social media. We also have a team of sales reps across the country for our club account and green grass business. But as far as the designs go, I'm still the only one that does the designs. Yeah, it makes it it's a little bit tough, but it also keeps it kind of the way it started and the way it's intended. People have asked, well, could you teach somebody else how to do it? Could you just figure that out, but it's like they wouldn't all be the same, and it's just wouldn't, it's not something that.
As a designer, I work as an architect full time, and I kind of get that. When you put your designer's touch on it, and you kind of have your style.
Right.
It'd be tough to make that happen with someone else's hand.
I totally agree. So that's something that I've kept it this way, and it's likely going to stay that way for at least the foreseeable future. So.
Absolutely, that's really cool. And, basing off of that it is just you. How you feeling this year? Just I know we visited you at your
down at the booth. Yeah.
You have a little bit of a team kind of helping you out, but are you getting to a point where you're like, all right, well, I'm booked for a good while from here on out?
Yeah. So this will be a little over 2.5 years now that GOLFDRAWN has existed. First with just as an Instagram account, and then our retail site. And then it organically grew into the club accounts and Greengrass. But, last year, as I mentioned beforehand, we've co-exhibited down here. We've had pieces on display. I've been to the show, met with folks. And last year, really, yesterday, a year ago, I was down here and we kind of set out that this year we wanted to make sure we had a booth. We had gotten to a point last year where we sold to enough clubs. We had enough accounts, so to speak. The retail site had grown to what it has in the Instagram. And it was, coming down here for us was an opportunity that, we couldn't pass up. But at the same time, with where we are, still somewhat new, but, like getting to that 3-year point, it was also like a litmus test for myself and the people that helped me out and the brand itself. We had reached a point where I needed some answers on things. We need answers on the space we work with, some of the equipment we use, produce, especially with the wholesale accounts, the products that we produce. We have everything in house now, so there were volume questions and logistics of figuring out the best way to do things. And, do we need this space so we can add this, or should we go about it this way? And, being here and, speaking with our clients, new clients, receiving these orders, that's going to answer a lot of those questions and ultimately help, propel us on after this. So this is a really important, for us to come down here, in a really important year it will be for us after this.
Absolutely. And no, I think anyone who's been a part of it, and I know it's our first time down here, Dante, from the second we stepped into this place, it's massive. It is just overwhelming. And so it's good to hear at least you're kind of taking yourself in on the aspect of it all and just being able to bottle it in within your booth, it seems like, and kind of just take one person at a time.
Yeah, it's almost like controlled chaos out there.
Yeah,
I mean, you're basically – like we came into the booth, just to show our faces and just kind of reconnect, saying, hey, we'll meet later. And then, you had other people just rolling right in, and then, you had to take care of that. And, we get that. And it's a lot of people are out here.
It's like, there were 3 of us really like manning the booth the last 2 days, and some of it's like kind of unfortunate because, like you guys stop in and say hi, and then, somebody comes in that has to be, like greeted or make sure we get that organized. And again, like, we do fortunately sell to a lot of clubs, but still, I will get giddy when, Club X, walks in. It's like, oh, that's, or my buddy Cole that helps me.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to get over here. And it's like, then you check the badge and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll have to catch up with you guys later. Cause it's a account that would mean a lot, and I still get like excited over stuff like that for specific places, obviously. But no, it really is chaos. You kind of like got to get people in, get people out, but still, make sure everybody, you got to know what they want. You got to give them all the attention they deserve and need, but you also you can't be with them like for that long because they're, you will create a line like out of the booth, which it's nuts, but we're still learning that part of it.
We understood. Business is business. We knew you were going to see us later in the day, and it was good to see you that busy, that consistently, and it did. It seemed like one after the other, and then finally, I just nice young woman who was working with you. I just said, you know what? Here's what we'll be. He can be here at this time. Let the man work. So we understood that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did GOLFDRAWN come about?
Yeah, so I started it. I was looking for exactly what we do now for myself. So I was looking for prints, some sort of decor just to decorate my own place. and what was out there. First of all, it's not even that I didn't like it. It wasn't for me because there was a lot of, you could always Google and find merch or products, anything on like top 100, top 10 clubs, big names. But I never had played any of those places. So, I don't want the, number one club in the country if I've never played there. Like, I don't need a print of that. You know what I mean? I want like my home track. I want the place where I learned to play golf. I want the place where I've taken a buddy's trip, whatever it may be. Right. So, that wasn't out there. And then number two, the stuff that was out there was really expensive. So I was like, I feel like I might be able to like do some of this stuff on my own. And I don't have like an art background, like people will ask, and not, I was a political science major. I went to law school. I never was like an artist, but I always had an iPad and an Apple Pencil. So that was how it got started, just like doodling on that. And then hand drawings, turned digital. But I literally started by just drawing the stuff up for myself so that I could decorate the house. And then it got to the point where my girlfriend was like, okay, like if you're going to do this every single night, you like at least make an Instagram, kind of like people probably maybe say the same thing about like a podcast or like a YouTube channel. If you're going to like get passionate about something like in this day and age, you might as well just see how it's received. Like not even necessarily like to monetize. Cause like when I first made the Instagram for it, it was kind of just like, well, I have all these drawings done now. So like what, they're just sitting here. Yeah. Might as well at least post them. And then like the Instagram was really well received. So then that turned into like, okay, well, no, if this is well received, making a website. Okay, like knew nothing about that either. Like, all right, we'll make a Shopify site. Okay, so then, then that was well received. But even through that, like it was all still built around like the custom orders, because once it gained popularity, and then like I kind of understood, okay, maybe this could be, at first obviously like hobby, side business, and then what it is now, but. It was always about the custom because, what I was looking for, like I said, was like my home track, my place. And when we first started and as we started to grow, it was always, other people reaching out. Hey, my dad taught me to play golf at this municipal course. There's no way you could draw that, right? And I'd be like, well, as long as we can, like, if I can find anything that allows me to go off of it, look at, like we can do it, and that was kind of like how the whole thing with like we can draw any course started, because it really is true, like at least attempt to. There hasn't been one yet that we haven't done or been able to, I guess you would say, right? But so it was always important for that because, it's like, and that's what really grew it. It's giving attention, like propping up these courses that otherwise wouldn't be, because like I said, you can always find merch or different things on huge clubs, international clubs, but people, the courses that mean a lot to people, and that actually have a lot of value, that don't get that same attention, or you can't go get it printed on a pullover or something. It's like it was an outlet for people, including myself. Like when I started to kind of like, let my goat track par 3, let's make that look as cool as this top 10 club. Sitting in a frame, it looks just as nice. So that was really like how it all started.
And speaking off of that, I like that idea about your brand. Is kind of, you're not going after the top 100 courses. You can do all the other courses. And as we were discussing off camera, turns out you and I actually belong to the same home course.
That's right.
Running Deer.
Wild.
Running Deer Golf Club in Pittsgrove, New Jersey, owned by Ron Jaworski. And it was funny because Dalton told me that we booked you to do a podcast. And turns out I told him, I was like, yo, he belongs to my course. He goes, get out. Don't say anything. I was like, I haven't seen this guy.
I booked it, and I was like, no way. I was like, you're kidding. Like, come on. Just be real. Like, you got to be kidding me. And then it turns out it's true. And it's like, it's a crazy small world. But you guys really, I mean, there's a dichotomy within your club. There's a bunch of different groups that, like, and you weren't really aware of each other.
And that's when you get that connection too, as well. When you see that product, like you saying, you can have Oakmont drawn, or you can have Augusta drawn, but you have Running Deer drawn. You and I play that course. We belong to that course. I'm like, wow, that's something cool. That's a product. I know that place. And I'm sitting there at your booth. It's plastered right up there. And then, I'm like, that's hole 1. And this is how you start. And this, and you get to 18. And then, and you did it for the member guest. It was just awesome to see it. Everybody sign it. I mean, it was really cool. And that's like, it just gives you a personal touch for your brand.
Yeah, that's important to us. And it's also funny because, like, so I grew up in Oakmont. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, and I literally grew up in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. Went to high school in Oakmont. I caddied at Oakmont for a little over 12 years, I think it ended up being, pretty much the whole way through both high school, college. beginning of law school before we moved to Philadelphia. And so it's funny because like I do know that side of it, but again, like I was just a caddy. Like people would say like, "Oh, you're from Oakmont," like, you know, and they'd like jaw drops. She's like, "No,
The
listen,
Holy
we played
Grail.
on
Yeah.
Mondays. We played on Mondays only sometimes, and you didn't really play because after you caddy on Monday, you weren't going to go carry your own bag again most of the time." But yeah, you know, we played it, grew up there, but so I know that side of it. But again, the most important part in the growth of it has always been like anybody's home course, the home course, your home course, his home course, anyone's, the public track, and like the top 100s, you know what I mean? But just like giving reverence equal due to all of the courses. Because at the end of the day, and like I tell people, I mean, if you look specifically at our stuff, like a course routing drawn, all courses are literally equal. Like they are all at the end with our stuff end up being just a drawing of a routing. So like this course is no better than this course. Like that's like just a fact. So that's kind of how we treat it too.
No, I love that. It's kind of like what you talked about earlier. It's like it's more of a conversation piece, especially when you get your own club, because then you have people that maybe come into your house or wherever you hang it up. You know, if you hang it up at your other club, you can kind of just say like, "Man, remember when I made par here?" And well, I was over here, and you can kind of. It's like it brings more stories out than just like, "Oh, well, yeah, that's Augusta."
Right.
All right.
Right.
And then like you get, I mean, top 100 courses are obviously always amazing, and we always cherish those kind of, you know, prints as well. But those personal pieces seem to invoke more stories out of people, especially when they get them for themselves to hang them up in their own home.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's one of those things where like we'll do even like individual hole pieces. So both with like club accounts and individuals. So like hole-in-one stuff, you know, again, buddies trip type stuff where, you know, we're commemorating maybe an entire trip, multiple courses all at the same time on a design like that. But they really are like conversation pieces as opposed to, and that's like golf art in general, really, I guess is, you know, like you can buy a shirt, you can buy a hat, you can wear a shirt and a hat and, you know, but the art side of it, and everybody that's into golf art and selling it and creating awesome stuff, like it really is more conversational than anything, you know? So I like that about it a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the neat part about it too is like just the way I've never seen golf routings on t-shirts anywhere. I don't know about maybe from yourself doing it, you've seen other people do golf routings, but I think that's special in its own right. Just putting a golf routing on a piece of apparel, and you usually only see them on like a frame or some sort. So I think that's a really neat piece that you had that I didn't really even know you had until I stopped by your booth. So
yeah, it's well, so you know, with our retail site and the Instagram, we do a better job now, and you see a lot of the stuff, and obviously here at the show. But you know, sometimes people don't even realize it. Like we have a wholesale catalog that we wholesale to clubs, that we even sell to clubs. You know, but the wholesale catalog, you know, unfortunately, like for individuals or the retail site, pretty much everything in there isn't offered to, you know, a single individual. It's just wholesale to clubs. Down the road, like that's one of the things that will, you know, we will likely change. You just have to make sure everything's done the right way, and you know, the pricing's difficult and figuring out all that stuff. You know, like I would love to. We all the time get like same sort of deal as the custom print orders. Like, can I get a shirt made of X club? And it's like, I would love to make you one shirt. I really would. Like everybody, like I would love to make myself just one shirt of everything. But it's just, if we did that, it would eventually just not work out. So until we have everything organized the right way that we could do that, then we will. But you know, so it's interesting to do all the different stuff. It's a big part of like what I mostly do now, and just because like the golf industry and like sales to these club accounts and to individuals, like it moves so fast and everybody's so creative and comes up with really cool shit. And like, you know, you have to always be thinking about like what's new, what can I do? So like to your point, you know, like when we first did the t-shirts, there was all I did was like, what have I never seen this on? Like you've seen routings on scorecards, you've seen routings 100%. On prints before, whatever. Like, okay, let's try the t-shirts. And like, you know, there's tons of ideas that I constantly have, and like we have tried stuff and it's been terrible, and then like we'll try other stuff and it's decent, and try, you know, stuff in the works that's like really good. But that's like the main thing, you know, because what helped us grow, what has helped us here in these 2 days, like all of our club account wholesale businesses, you know, like pretty much everybody that comes to us club wise and individual wise are like, this is so different, like this is new. It's the aspect of different or novelty. So like, you don't want that to wear off. I mean, you know, hopefully like in 3 years, it won't not be different anymore. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
on the chance that like a framed print of the design is not different in 4 years, like what else are we going to have? You know what I mean? So that's like the t-shirts and the different applications of wood and acrylic and, all the different stuff, the things that we're working on. So it's really important to try to, always have something different. Think about what else could we do, which is fun too, like to just test stuff out and see what would work. And it's just funny to see like the bad ones as well. You're like, wow, not even close.
It was so nice up here, and then we did it there. And
Like,
it was like,
that's not gonna work.
Yeah, big miss. But
Yeah.
no, from what I've seen at your from your booth, and I know the design process, the bad designs never make it that far, but it doesn't seem like you have many misses. It seems like a lot of the product that you have out this week is truly something special. And I was amazed with the acrylic. I have no clue how you do it, but it came out looking really, really nice and clean. And that was one of the products that I was a fan favorite of, was just that acrylic kind of wall piece. It just looks so clean, a little bit of shimmer on it. I mean, it's just,
those are really neat. They're different. I mean, back I think a couple years ago, acrylic was like really big, but it used to have the like bolts in it almost. If you know what I'm talking about, like the little
like your
metal
4-corner hangers.
Yes, and that like really turned people off. And I mean, those now, like we print those just like paper, but it's acrylic or glass or metal, just flatbread directly on it. But we don't have a ton of stuff like in the booth or that we sell at wholesale. It's a nice catalog of a lot of products, varied products, unique products, but it's not, we don't have 100 things in there, but that's also because it's important, just like with our retail site, just like with our orders with individuals, like there's a ton of stuff that we could do, but there's not a ton of stuff that we 100% know that this is going to be right. It's going to be the quality that we would buy, that I would put up on the wall, that I would want Club XYZ to receive. So like the stuff that we have, we do all in-house. Before I didn't want to add stuff until we could do that. So like everything is in-house. It's all us, full vertical. We can do full customization on anything, like adjust any size, adjust any color, print it this way, print it that way. And that's really important, because you can get caught up in like, looking around and saying, oh, like they're doing this, they're doing hats, and so just put this out. Do we need to put that out? Or like, especially even with just like retail, like our site and to individuals, like, we don't really do merch. I mean, I try to do a little bit of stuff here and then, like we did like the architect shirts a handful of times. Those are popular, little things like that. But like, I don't want to just like I don't want to be a t-shirt company. I don't want to be a hat company. First of all, like, I don't know anything about it. And I mean, I really I can't keep up on that side, like because of that, you know what I mean? Like we do the designs, we do prints, we do the print applications, we do those well. I like to stick with that, because you can just constantly look around and be like, oh, they're doing that. Do we need to do that? Should we do that? Did you see what they did? And you'll end up, doing all these different things. How much of it was actually quality stuff, right? But like, oh, you did it, and so I try to like stay away from that. But it's hard because you want, sometimes you feel like, it's like the, like FOMO or whatever. You're like, what if we don't put out a waste management design? What if we don't have US Open shit?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's important. Sometimes it's not. I mean, at the end, what's most important is like, are you selling quality stuff to people? Like, or did you just put out some stuff? Like, because, so it's tough. But I think everybody deals with that, like in this day and age, whether it's like podcast content, sales, whatever it is. It's literally like, there's so much going on that it's, you're
never going to be able to get it all.
Right.
I mean, and we deal with it kind of, we talk every day between Isaiah, Dante, and myself. It's like, all right, what's the store have that we have via Enjoy the Walk podcast stuff? And well, do we want to do this? Well, everyone else is already doing this. Like, why do we want to do it because they're doing it, or do we want to do it because that's something that Enjoy the Walk actually wants to offer? And when you actually start backing up and like asking yourself that question, it becomes, you kind of zone in on your own little niche rather than doing what the masses are doing.
Or you just jump around and you're going out with idea 1 and then you jump to idea 2 and then 3, 4, 5, and who knows what's going. You have too many ideas and then you get overwhelmed. This is so simple, yet it's so exclusive, yet there's so much meaning behind it too. Right. Because like you were saying earlier, oh, I parred or I birdied that hole, this shoot, whatever. I was coming up 18. I was 1 over or something like that. And that's something you can put on, your wall, or even like you're saying with the hole, the signature hole. You say you ace that hole, you can just get that drawn up. Like I ace that hole, rather than everybody going out and getting the ball cut in half and plastered on the plaque.
Yeah,
it's really neat to see.
And I love it. It's just there's there's always room in an industry for something new. And I think we walked around a majority of the floor today, and there's nothing like it at all, which I mean speaks to your creativity and the way you've been able to build kind of just, what started out as just the hobby of making something for yourself. And there's a lot of opportunity for, I think, people to do that if they just stick to kind of their morals. Cause like you didn't, like you said, you didn't do it to get rich or to do it, out of character. You did it because you loved doing it, and you said, man, that's pretty cool, and it was pretty fun,
Yeah, and I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's so cliche to say, like, be different, or like be different. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, really it is, like, especially, I don't know, in golf, like nowadays it is important, but it's also, it's not necessarily be different. Like, the way I think of it is, like, it's not necessarily be different, like how, like, out there can we be, but it's be different. Like we just talked about, like, you don't have to do the same podcast of like the 10 that you have on your iPod, you know what I mean? Or your iPhone. Like, do different content. Like I said, I don't need to look around and say, oh, these, what I consider like competitors or some like companies, like, we don't need to do all that. So like different in that sense, like it's like be yourself, I guess, more so, like, or as a brand, as a company, whatever you are, like that, I think, gives the true value in doing whatever anybody's doing. But also, when everybody does that, like, everybody can exist within the same space, no problem. Like, we talk about down here, I always say, like, we don't need to sell to every club, not even close. We don't need to sell to 10,000 clubs. We don't need to sell to 1,000 clubs. Like, let's sell to as many clubs as we can, but like establish really strong relationships with them. Same thing. Like, I don't need to everybody in Pennsylvania and New Jersey to order custom print. Like, if they do, great, but if not, like, every person that orders, let's make sure that they get the best print. Let's make sure it's perfect, that it gets there in time, all that stuff, like, that's what's important. And everybody can exist within the whole space while doing that. Like, there can be as many podcasts as there need to be if everybody does their own thing, you know what I mean? Because then it's just like, if we constantly look around and you do the same thing, then it's eventually just going to be oversaturated, which some aspects maybe are. But like, if everybody, you can sell, this person can sell to who they want to sell to. We don't have to sell to them. Like, we can all do our own things. This person can have this on the podcast, this content can be created this way, and everybody can like coexist. And that's how it, like, I was telling somebody earlier, like, that's how golf has like probably changed to where it is now, or the golf industry. Like, everybody kind of was like, oh, well, like, we could start playing 9 holes only. We could start playing 4. We could like bring back golf art. We could start podcasting about golf. We could make videos about golf, which, like, when our parents were younger, that would have never happened. But everybody like just started doing that. Was like, let's just do it. And then it's here, So like, now, same thing. If everybody just is, the way everybody's interacting in the space continues to just like move, the industry, like, people probably didn't think they would come to the PGA show like 5 years ago and sit in like podcast rooms.
Yeah.
That's
us, literally us. And we were talking about it earlier today, and it was the thing that you just said that I think speaks so loud and true. We had it said on our podcast when we did the interview with Gavin Green and Liberty, co-opetition. So like, we can all cooperate together and be in the same competition. Like, I don't have to fight you for the same space. Like, you can do, like you said, your podcast, and I can do my podcast, or if someone else comes out and starts drawing golf holes or whatever, they can do it their way and you can do it your way, and you can share that space. There's so much unlimited value out there for everyone that, like, we can all have a piece of the pie.
And it's the fact of putting the quality back over quantity.
Right.
You're just, you're all moving the needle together. And I think that's where everybody says try to grow the game, and it's about a community. And it really is, because you come down here, I mean, we're seeing other podcasters that could be potentially competitors, but no, we're rooting for each other, and they're giving, they're more well established, and they're giving us tips on, hey, be yourself, don't try to be like someone else, and don't try and you just do your thing, and that's what you're doing, and that's what we try to strive and enjoy the walk.
I'll shout out the Golf WRX guys. We hung out with them and talked to them for like 45 minutes today, and they were so cool. And it was all about just helping us get better at what we do. That way, more listeners listen to golf podcasts in general. Like, just golf in general, and getting more people into the game is what I think we should all be about, no matter how we all go about doing it.
No, 100%. And I mean, that's the thing. Like, everybody together, instead of just saying like grow the game, like, growing the game is doing it together. You can still do it your own way. You can still, like we said, be different, unique, whatever. But like, growing it is exactly what I do think is happening, which is a bunch of great creative people making creative stuff, selling creative stuff, just like doing creative stuff, and just changing the game in the direction of it, which, you know, is really good. I mean, regardless of maybe some people say like sometimes it's, you know, not really changing, or this is like, it is. It's different than.
Look at the PGA Tour right now,
Right.
and the flair that's out there, the creativity that's just in, you know, the media room, with the way the guys interact with media, with the way the guys dress, with the way they play. It's a different game than what Jack and Arnie played back and Gary played. It's a different game.
Everybody's, as Tiger says, I'm just hanging out with the boys.
Look at Tiger.
right.
You want to talk about change. You want to talk about in the last decade, a complete character change. Tiger Woods is the epitome of that.
No, yeah. I mean, and I tell, you know, all the time, people that help me out that I work with, you know, like when we were coming down here, you know, it can be intimidating, like, you know, the wholesale or the club account stuff. And I think sometimes people have an idea about, you know, club professionals and things that, you know, they're just, you know, different, or like an upper echelon of, you know, person, or, you know, oh man, like they're all scratch golfers and they wear black ties. And, you know, it's like, we left yesterday and we were like, every person that came to the booth, like we had club professionals from amazing clubs that like I would die to go to and play. And these dudes were just like us, you know, like they were, we talked to them like I'm talking to you. I talked to them like I was talking to my buddies in the booth. Like everybody was just like us, you know? So like, that's another example of, you know, sometimes it's not, the perception is not always the reality. And like, that's certainly one of the ways. And those same people that are just like us are the ones, you know, also changing things. Like those are club professionals that are stocking different products and getting into new things. Those are guys who are listening to different podcasts and doing different things at the clubs or the courses, whatever. So like, you know, it's definitely a different time, but better, you know, like I don't see like any negatives to the direction or everything that everyone's doing. So it's an exciting time for sure, regardless of how, you know, you're involved or even just looking at it from the outside.
No, and then I just think you can grow from the inside, you know, from the golf professional or whoever's in the golf industry, and we can grow from the outside too. Like you said, the golf professional that picks up something new from a golf podcast that's already in the industry and he never thought about it, boom, we gave him new ideas to go back to his club and to start doing new things with, you know, people who may not have liked the game as much, and can invigorate a little bit more spark into somebody's game. So I know we got to get you back. You're a busy man here today, but we always ask this to kind of wrap up our podcasts. I don't know how long you've been in the game, but your highest and lowest rounds, they don't have to be competitive, but where they were and kind of what you really remember about them.
So I started playing golf in high school. So I played baseball my whole life, played in college, but I started playing golf in high school. So it would have been like 9th grade. I would have been 12, 13, whatever it was. And on the high school team, like starting out, I used to, you know, like my highest round would be like uncountable because like, you know, you just like wouldn't finish basically.
Sure.
Like, oh, what'd you shoot? I don't know. Like I made 8 on that last one, quit keeping score on the one before that, you know, so like I guess infinite. Yeah. My best ever was I think 76 at Pheasant Ridge and back in Pittsburgh, which was our high school's home course. So like by the time that I had gotten back to it years later in college and stuff, I was actually decent. I was able to shoot that, but yeah, I'm just an average golfer. I'm a 12 something handicap. I'm not sure. I've been on
same course, so that was sweet revenge.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I got my revenge on it, so that was good.
I love to hear that. So I guess, you know, let people know where they can find you, how they can contact you, you know, get the ball rolling on a design that they would like to see, and you know, where they can maybe follow along with that design process.
Sure. Yeah. You know, you can go to our site, golfdrawn.com. Follow us along on Instagram, same thing, @golfdrawn. And, you know, I would invite anybody to check it out and even go as far as reach out to see if you want to get your course drawn up or do anything for anyone. We always do free proofs. So like, you know, you don't have to pay anything to check out what your course would look like. So, you know, everybody can just feel free to reach out and you know, or if you have any questions or anything like that. So, but I appreciate you guys having me on, and
absolutely
this is good. You feel free to, again, you know, you can reach out anytime and whatever we can, myself or we can help you with, or, you know, do more of these, whatever you guys want to do. So this is good.
Appreciate that.
And then we'll get around then.
Yeah, we'll get around it into Deer here when the weather breaks.
Do you play with
guys, man?
Do you play with anybody?
No, I drive out there at like 3:30 in the afternoon, usually on like the most random of days. It'll literally be as soon as I'm free. I just shoot out there.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually I'll
'Cause
actually
I was
call and
saying
say, can I walk onto the first tee?
Yeah.
I will call Rob and he'll say, yeah, if you can get here in 40 minutes, I'll get in the car and go. And that's it. So,
Well, if you ever want to play a game, we got a nice group there in the realm of the 12 handicaps. I play in
okay,
as well.
that's perfect.
Hack Brigade, dude, huge
There
group,
we go.
a lot of fun. Then you got the blue group. They're all like the better guys. They crush me.
You
but
might have
yeah.
to get a sub
We'll get-
for this,
we'll
man.
swap,
Nine.
yeah,
He's
sure,
gonna be
sure.
pretty. He's gonna be pretty
We'll
slammed.
swap information.
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
Get them, we'll get you out there.
That sounds good.
Guys,
No,
dude.
for
It's a
sure.
great. It's a great group.
Yeah, he rants and raves about it all the time. So I know you guys will have a blast out there at Running Deer. So, man, really appreciate you
Thanks, guys.
taking your time out of the day, as busy as it is, and
problem.
chatting with us. So,
Yeah.
you guys, the listeners, can find us at _enjoythewalk on Instagram and Twitter, as well as www.enjoythewalk.store to find any of our T-shirts, hats. Dante's got a little dad hat action going on there, and some of our waste management crush can tees that we had fun designing and on a rainy Saturday afternoon. So, guys, thanks for listening, and until next time, enjoy the walk.
Enjoy the walk.
That's the stuff. One shot at a time.